Hey, what's going on, YouTube? Today we're going to take a step back and look at some of the recent updates to Call of Dragons. Okay, and I think the first place to start is with the decoration system. Certainly, this was a very negatively received, very controversial change they made recently. I myself thought this is probably the worst thing they had done in the game so far. Thankfully, they've walked it back a little bit, and I still don't like decorations, but I think it's a lot less bad than it used to be. All right, so they've made two big sort of free-to-play, low-spend, friendly-ish changes to the decoration system. The first is they put, some universal blueprints in the weekly store. You see five here, but of course you can refresh the weekly store, so you get 10 of these a week. 10 of these a week is not very much. When they made this change, I thought, this is lipstick on a pig. It doesn't really make a big difference. Just for these, it's going to take something like 5 to 6 years to get anywhere with the decoration system. So I thought this was worthless. But then they made a second change, and they made it with the Kaleidoscope quest thing here. Now this thing has never been very good. And if you haven't rolled a new character, if you haven't like rolled a new farm or started a new account lately, you don't understand how terrible this is. When you start out the game, this little kaleidoscope thing, you basically have to play discount Diablo for like a few hours of the game before you can progress and get into the actual Call of Dragons. This is like the dumbest decision I could ever think of. I don't understand why they have this. First of all, this is not fun. I don't think anyone finds it fun. If you do find it fun, there are much, much, much better versions of this type of game here than you'll find in Call of Dragons. And so if you like the sort of city builder war game type and you haven't played Call of Dragons before, you boot this up and you're going to be like, what is this? And you'll just quit. On the other hand, if you do really like this for some reason, first of all, you're probably not going to play Call of Dragons. You'll probably play something else because this discount Diablo version is not very good. But second, even if you did like this, it ends after a while and you get into the regular Call of Dragons and you'd be like, what is this? So I think putting this at the beginning of the game, I don't understand why they do it. It has to be strongly discouraging new players from joining this game. It's just like shooting yourself in the foot for no good reason. I don't understand why that's there. Okay, so I think we all understand how this works here, right? They put these troves of riches in the Kaleidoscope event. Whenever you complete a blue one, you get one little token. Whenever you complete a purple icon, you get two tokens. And whenever you complete a gold icon, you get four tokens. Every 10 tokens, you can change it in for a draw. You can draw five at a time. And every, 15 draws, you're guaranteed one of the good, decoration upgrades. Honestly, this is pretty generous. When I first saw this, I'm like, okay, I'm going to draw all epic upgrades until I get to my 15 pity draw. I get, the good upgrades pretty frequently, and you get like basically, 8 of these events every 8 hours or so. So you get a bunch of these a day. It stores up to 50. So I think they took this, this gameplay feature, which wasn't very good, and tried to solve that problem by sort of merging it with the decoration problems, right? The classic solving one problem with another. I don't think it's fully successful. This is still not good gameplay. All you do is like spam click here. There's no like nothing you have to do. There's no challenge you have to solve. There's nothing other I have to do with this other than spam the quick help button. So it's not a very good gameplay feature. On the other hand, it is pretty good. It is pretty generous when it comes to those decorations. I actually do now think that this, in conjunction with a little bit of help you get from the weekly merit shop, it didn't completely solve the decoration problem, but it mitigated it to such an extent that it no longer like enrages me the way it used to. Okay, a game like this, I think we all understand the business model. They have to find ways to get the whales, to get the krakens to spend their money on this game. That's how this game makes, it's economically viable, etc. In a pay to win or a pay to play, type of game like this, I really think there's three levels. The best level is what I call the pay to look pretty. They put all the cosmetics behind paywalls, but otherwise there's no like tactical advantage in the game. That's really the best and sort of this, the freemium mobile gaming, community. If it's just pay to look pretty, like that's the best. That's what you want. Call of Dragons has never been that. The second level is sort of the pay to get there faster, where if you're a free to play player or a low spender, you can get everything. It's just gonna take you a long time. Whereas if you put more, money into the game, you'll get there much more quickly. I don't love that, but that is sort of the Call of Dragons model, and that's I think where we're at now. The third level, the level that I won't go to, is like the paywall, like you pay or you die kind of level. Like you'll never get here unless you put a lot of money into the game, and so you basically have like a have and a have-nots economy, and the the free-to-play low spenders, no matter how long they play, no matter how active they are, they're just never going to get there. When Decorations first came out, this was, I think, the transition of the game from, pay to get there faster into like pay or you die kind of scenario. But with the new Kaleidoscope feature, on top of the merit shop, which helps a little bit, I think we're back in the now, the pay to get there faster scenario. I'm not saying that's ideal, but it no longer enrages me the way that Decorations, pissed me off so much when they first came out, right? This is now pretty analogous to the, trying to get to T5. Anyone could get to T5, but it's either going to take you time or money, which you want to do. Second thing I want to talk to you about today is the sort of the war pets. I really think Call of Dragons is in dire need of a war pet, update or refresh pretty quickly here. The war pet system, they've done some good work with it, but we've had these, I don't know, 2.5 years now, and basically the war pet system, how you upgrades change slightly, but the skills you have on these pets, they're basically exactly the same as they have been since they were introduced in the game, right? Other than sort of the unique skills that every pet gets when it's released in the game, they haven't released a single new skill, a single new talent. It's time to get some new skills into this game here. All right. Now, someone in a previous video mentioned, hey, how about like gathering talents? Look, that's a pretty obvious way to sort of, throw some fresh sort of ideas into it. I think that's fine, pretty easy to do, but I think you need to do a lot more than that. We need some sort of variety here that's going to make it so that every single war pet basically isn't the same cookie cutter build, right? Anytime a new calf pet comes out, like, I know what the build's going to be, right? You're going to have the talent skill, you're going to have its two unique skills, and then you're going to have, the crit package, which is, Fatal Bite, Angry Roar, and Blood Roar. Then you're going to have Tooth and Claw, then you're going to have Fierce Attack and the Fierce Attack package, right? And those are 10 skills, and really the only question is, which 8 of those 10 skills are you going to do, right? You get a very similar thing with Mage pets, with Archer pets, and then Infantry pets is just basically like, are you going for the Counter Strike, Counter Attack package, or are you going for the Fierce Attack package? But it's not, there's no really like complicated builds here. I'd like to see a system where they put in place where like there are some real choices you have to make. And as long as we're talking about war pets, let's talk about this new Q&A that came out just, in the last day or so. I'm going to skip over most of it, but there is one question here that talks about war pets, in particular the pet auction system. Now, you know what I think about the pet auction system. It's fundamentally broken. It like basically no one wants to use it. And the main reason that hardly anyone uses it, it fixes the lowest bid at such a high level that very, very, very few pets are ever going to get sold. This question sort of acknowledges that, so I like that. And their idea is to make it so that if you buy a pet, it can sort of be converted into pet fruit. Yeah, I mean, like they say, they still iron out the specifics. I'm skeptical about this. Maybe it'll work. I don't think this is going to do much. Now, look, I don't think this is going to make the game worse when they put this in, but I don't think this is the solution here. But, we don't know the details. I'll have to see when it comes out. This just, other than the fact that they've acknowledged this is a problem, this doesn't really inspire a lot of hope in me. Hey, one more thing real quick about the war pet system. Look, obviously we get a new pet with every new pair of heroes. Like, that's fine, no issues there. But over time, we just, like basically every season we get one new pet. You know what we're not getting? We're not getting more pet space for the pets, right? I've maxed this out a long time ago, and I'm starting to run out of room to get new war pets. Hey, Call Dragons, here's an easy one. Give us another 50 slots. Make us pay 1,000 gems for every slot or whatever. I'm starting to run out of room here. I like to keep some pets around, and at some point, I'm just going to, as I develop these pets, I'm going to run out of room completely. So how about some new space for our war pets? The next thing I want to hit just very quickly is the KVK matchup system. I think it's pretty clear to everyone that it's fundamentally broken, and I think it's honestly the biggest problem facing the game right now. When you see like top level alliance, one after another, break up, fall apart, essentially disband or shed 80% of their players or something like that, I think that's a pretty good indication that the KVK matchup system, particularly at the higher levels, simply isn't working. Like, I don't have a great solution for this. What I think we need to come up with is some sort of, legacy system that encourages you to get higher and higher, to do better and better, and gives you better level rewards for winning the top KVKs. Right now, for example, the rewards for winning KVK number one are exactly the same as for winning KVK 76 or whatever, right? The bottom level KVK and the top level KVK pay out, if you will, to the exact same level. Sure, there's bragging rights, but bragging rights only go so far. Compare and contrast that with the Row League. If you won the Row League or if you finished in the top four of the Row League, you got a very strong, tangible benefit. All right, hey, the last thing I'll talk about is the mystery egg very quickly. I'm recording this, it's March 21st, so Saturday my time. Maybe by the time you're watching this, uh, you'll have the information what the egg is. But let me tell you, what do I think the egg is? The egg is, I think, prepare to be disappointed. It's not going to be anything we care about. It's going to be some minor new mechanic, probably with a new bundle attached to it. Okay, overall, that's kind of where I think we're at right now. Actually, I think things are overall improving. Decoration system, I thought was kind of the worst thing they had done, and they substantially walked that back. So I think it's still not good, but it is substantially less bad than it used to be. It's no longer enraging me. We definitely need an overall of the war pet system, but the most important thing I think right now is we need an overall of how you match these KVKs, because right now it's just not working. And I think the biggest evidence of that is just the number of top level kingdoms that are breaking up, left and right. All right, as for me, I'm actually about to go on a trip. That's why I'm recording this ahead of time. By the time you watch this, I'll be out of town. Now, look, I'm still going to have access to my email. I'll still log into the game from time to time, but expect, less, quick responses to me, less frequent responses. So if you send me something, please just give me a little additional time to respond because I won't have the same level of access to the game that I usually do. All right, anyway, that's all I got for you today. And until next time, you stay classy, Belleron.